hard line. Don't run, let it run. Goodbye, hard line. Don't run, would you let it run?
Greetings and welcome back. Once again, I have another episode for you on the world of the outlaw biker. This time on the Mongols Motorcycle Club, also known as the Mongol Brotherhood or Mongol Nation, originally formed in Montebello, California in 1969. Although the Mongols' main presence today still lies in California, they also have chapters nationwide in over 20 states and internationally in about a dozen countries. Today, law enforcement officials estimate there are approximately 2,000 full-patch members, making the Mongols the fifth largest outlaw biker club in the world, after the Hells Angels, the Bandidos, Outlaws, and Pagans. Again, I didn't make up the term outlaw motorcycle gang. The Mongols are designated as an organized crime group by the United States Department of Justice, Australian Federal Police, Europol, and other law enforcement agencies. The club's founders were reportedly to be a group of Hispanic bikers from the East Los Angeles area who formed the Mongols as an alternative to the Hells Angels, which, at the time, did not allow non-white members into their club. The Mongols voted to become a 1% outlaw club in 1974, and membership increased as the club began recruiting prison inmates, particularly from the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo. Within 10 years of its foundation, the club had established chapters in Los Angeles, San Gabriel Valley, the San Fernando Valley, Long Beach, San Diego, and Bakersfield. The Mongols became involved in a long-running feud with the Hells Angels beginning in about 1977. After a big war, the Hells Angels ceded control of much of Southern California to the Mongols, on the condition that the Angels would hold exclusive rights over Northern California. The first national president of the Mongols, Louis Costello, is said to have named the club in honor of Genghis Khan in the Mongol Empire. The Mongols' original sergeant-at-arms, Alfonso Big Al Aceves, was said to have been the model for the Mongols' logo. This Mongols MCM image is trademark registered, and their patch, as with most outlaw motorcycle clubs, consists of a top rocker, which is their name, middle rocker, which is their trademark image, and the bottom rocker is where they're from. Other patches may include club slogans and mottos, such as Mongols Forever, Forever Mongols, or Respect Few, Fear None. They also may have a 1% patch. In other patches, like many of the major OMGs, the Mongols have support or puppet clubs, such as the Raiders. The Mongols organization is run out of the mother chapter, which, like I said, was originally in Montebello, California, but is currently based in West Covina, California, in the San Gabriel Valley. The mother chapter is composed of national officers and led by a national president. This mother chapter exercises authority over all other Mongol chapters and members, and is responsible for collecting and reviewing applications, collecting fees and dues, and resolving disputes within the club. Ernest Rabbit Salas was an officer in the San Gabriel chapter of the Mongols in the early days. His brother Robert Salas was a notorious leader in the Mexican Mafia prison gang. Rabbit Salas and fellow Mexican Mongols proved themselves in the 1970s and 80s in their wars with the Hells Angels and on the road during biker runs with other clubs. The Mongols began bringing in more and more of these Hispanic members into the club, and for many years, the Mongols had good relations with the Mexican Mafia, but this began to change by the mid-1990s. Because they needed more soldiers for their war against the Big Red Machine, aka 8-1, aka the Hells Angels. By the 1990s, the Mongols were recruiting many former street gang members from both Northern California and Southern California to be prospects for the club. However, many of these new recruits did not even own a bike or even know how to ride one. The Mongols' constitution states that a potential member must own a Harley-Davidson before a prospect can put on the patch. But the Mongols lowered their standards and enlisted numerous Cholo street gang members all over California to join their ranks. It is my understanding that Mexican Mafia shot callers Mosca Torres from San Fernando and Lalo Martinez from Lomas were housed at the LA County Jail at the time, and had crews enforcing the 1993 MA Edict out on the streets. They ruled that the Mongols should be treated no different from other Serrano street gangs, and the Mongols were ordered to pay taxes. The following incidents were relayed to me by various LA Gang Task Force members, including renowned gang expert and former LA Sheriff's Department Detective Sergeant Richard Valdemar, and some of these details were included in Police Magazine. Evidently, one of the Mongol security team was a former member of LA's largest street gang, 18th Street, also known as Barrio 18. However, members of the Bassett Street Gang in the San Gabriel Valley soon recognized this Mongol as a former Serrano who was on the MA's green light list. He had been placed on the list for breaking the Serrano Code. Individuals and gangs who are on the MA green light list are targeted by Serranos loyal to the Mexican Mafia. In January of 2004, a group of Mongols met with the Bassett Grande Street Gang at a motel room in the city of Arcadia, located northeast of Los Angeles. The Mongols were there to buy methamphetamine, but after the deal, the Bassett gang members invited Mongols to party with them in their motel room they had used for the deal. 5 to 6 Mongols were acting as security for the deal, and their buyer went back to a Mongol safe house nearby. But 4 of the Mongols returned to the Bassett Grande party. When confronted by the Bassett gang members, a Mongol went into the bathroom and came out wearing a pistol in plain view in his waistband. He refused to leave the party, counting on his fellow Mongols to back him up. A struggle ensued, and the 18th Street Mongol member was killed, and another Mongol who stayed back was injured badly. The other Mongols took off, and their club would later hold court and find them being guilty of being cowards in the showdown with the street gang members. On January 10th, 2004, in the city of Rosemead, also located in the San Gabriel Valley, members of another Serrano gang named Sangra set up a methamphetamine lab in a motel room and started doing business. Evidently, some Mongols members were going on a run and had checked into the same hotel. One Mongol from San Jose in Northern California walked past the hotel room where the meth lab was and started asking questions. Soon, a verbal confrontation occurred between the Mongol and the Sangra Street Gang members. The Sangra Street Gang members noticed Los Angeles Sheriff's deputies, patrol units in the area, and broke up their meth lab quickly and began loading drugs and equipment into their cars. This is when the Mongols confronted the gang members, and that San Jose Mongol claimed not only to be a biker member, but a norteño as well. So the Sangra gang members shot and killed him. Responding deputies caught the fleeing suspect and seized much of the meth and equipment. A couple months later, in March of 2004, several Mexican Mafia shot callers held meetings with local Serrano gangs and sent word to the Mongols that they felt disrespected, and that the Serranos had sustained over $20,000 in lost revenue because of the drug loss and personal property seizures. They ordered Mongols to pay for their lost revenue, and the MA ordered that if the Mongols didn't pay, they would be placed on the green light list, and all of their members would be targeted for murder by Serranos in and out of custody. The Mongols let it be known that they would not pay the extortion payment to the MA, and even made a few threats of their own. The war heated up, and soon dozens of Mongol members turned in their biker cuts and abandoned being either members or prospects of the Mongols. I understand that eventually the Mongols paid up and that there was a meeting arranged between Mexican Mafia representatives and the club, and a full-scale war was averted. Last I heard, Mongols MC can function with Serranos in the LA County Jail main lines. Like I said, relations between the Mongols and the Mexican Mafia at the time were very volatile. The Mafia also made the request of the Mongols kill Doc, who was the Mongol president at the time and was recruiting all these Serranos, and the MA said that all would be forgiven. Ruben Doc Cavazos was raised by his father in the Highland Park area of Los Angeles and joined the Avenues, a Mexican-American street gang, at an early age. I understand that he had a license to work as a medical radiology technician, hence he obtained the name Doc. He took over as Mongol International President in the year 2002 and greatly improved discipline within the organization and, like I said, expanded greatly under his leadership. However, in addition to pissing off the Mexican Mafia, he was also accused of embezzling money from the club and taking a big cut for every new member who was recruited, allegedly $500 per new member, and was racking up tens of thousands of dollars every month. Also, he never got permission from the Mongol board to write his autobiography, Honor Few, Fear None, The Life and Times of a Mongol, which was published in the year 2008. In addition to their problems with the Mexican Mafia, problems continued with the Hells Angels, such as the fact that the Mongols had been recruiting more and more in Northern California, violating their agreement. Also, some Mongols have a California bottom rocker. This fact was highly offensive to the Hells Angels, who claimed control of all of California and stated they had exclusive rights to the California bottom rocker, so they went to war over it. The River Run was a violent confrontation between the Hells Angels and Mongols that occurred on April 27, 2002 in Laughlin, Nevada during the Laughlin River Run. Some of this was captured on videotape. On the prior evening of April 26, a group of Mongols went into the Golden Nugget Casino and surrounded the Hells Angels, who had a display in the front lobby, and the Mongols prevented anyone from seeing it. A couple hours later, the Mongols left the Golden Nugget and returned to Harrah's Casino. At the Harrah's Casino, a group of Hells Angels, who'd been greatly offended by the Mongols' previous action, confronted the Mongols, and a Mongol deliberately bumped into a Hells Angel. Security cameras recorded that Hells Angels Sonoma Charter President Raymond Folks kicked a Mongol in the chest, which started a brawl. The Mongols and Hells Angels then fought with guns, wrenches, hammers, and knives. An Arizona Hells Angel named Carl Schaefer was recorded on camera swinging a ball-peen hammer at two Mongols and pulled out a handgun and fired several shots. Schaefer shot Mongol Richard Nolan, who had to be hospitalized with multiple gunshot wounds. At another blackjack table, a wounded Hells Angel was dragged away. A Hells Angel named Rodney Cox, who was armed with a crescent wrench, told everybody else, "This is my area. I'm protecting my friend here." But when a Mongol approached, the leader of the Mongols at Harrah's, National President Roger Penny, was surrounded by two Hells Angels who forced him down to his knees, while Hells Angel Henry Leadham punched him in the face. Another HA, James Hannigan, grappled Penny by his hair and stabbed him in the chest twice. Other sources state that it was actually 4 times in the back. Nevertheless, everybody agrees that Mongols' International President Roger Penny was attacked. HA James Hannigan then approached Mongol member Benjamin Leyva, who was fighting another HA, and Hannigan plunged his knife into Leyva's left shoulder. Leyva stumbled away in pain when he was shot by HA Cal Schaefer. Leyva took multiple bullets to his body. Security cameras also recorded Mongols member Enrique Munoz staggering out of the casino, bleeding from a bullet wound in his chest. Joining him were fellow Mongols Davy Carmago, who had a bullet wound in his leg, and Anthony Salvador Barrera, who had been stabbed in the chest. A witness later testified before a grand jury that every door out of the place had blood trails. Mongol Anthony Barrera was stabbed to death, and 2 HAs, Jermaine Bell and Robert Tumulty, had been shot to death, evidently by Mongols. Within minutes of the skirmish, a large presence of police officers who were patrolling the run stormed in to subdue the melee and ended up arresting 42 Mongols and 70 Hells Angels, confiscating 14 guns and numerous other weapons. But the prosecution of those responsible went nowhere, largely because of infighting between the Nevada Attorney General and the United States Attorney General. By the time of the first anniversary of the riot, no charges had been filed against anyone involved in the riot. Like I said, there was little cooperation between the state of Nevada and the federal government. Nevertheless, approximately 5 years later, 7 HAs and 6 Mongols were imprisoned as a result of the event, while 36 other people had their charges dismissed. Doc Cavazos, who was National Sergeant of Arms of the Mongols at the time, and who was present during the Laughlin fight, later became national president. The guy who would later take over his place, Little Dave Santillan, was also present, but videotape shows that while Doc stood up front and held his ground against the HAs, Little Dave made his way to the back of the pack and took off after the initial brawl broke out. It was later found that it was Little Dave's job to protect President Roger Penny, who was stabbed badly, and it was deemed that Little Dave failed in his mission but came up with an excuse. As stated earlier, Doc Cavazos later fell from grace due to multiple issues with the club, including agreeing to sign over the Mongols trademark patch image as part of his plea bargain. Due to numerous problems with the organization and violations of their constitution, Doc was forced out. Meanwhile, Little Dave Santillan was voted in to replace him. Little Dave joined the Mongols in 1997. A year later, he was admitted to the Mother Chapter, which, as I stated, is the governing body of the club. But several issues came to light with him also during the Laughlin Run trial, including accusations that he was a police informant. The Mongols Motorcycle Club had been convicted in late 2018 of racketeering and conspiracy, and requested a new trial, saying that their former president, Little Dave Santillan, was actually a confidential informant working for the ATF, giving the prosecution an unfair advantage during trial. These allegations came to light after a secretly recorded video surfaced of Santillan talking to his wife about the lead ATF case agent, John Ciccone. The video was recorded in June of 2021 when Santillan was drunk and despondent.
There's a new twist in a federal case already marked by murder and mayhem. The Mongols Motorcycle Club wants a new trial and says its former leader, David Santillan, was secretly acting as a confidential informant for the ATF. Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero here now with the story. Christian.
Mark, the Mongols Motorcycle Club was convicted of racketeering and conspiracy back in 2018, but today they were back in court after secret video surfaced of its former president talking to his wife about the lead ATF agent on that federal case.
I love you. I love you. You're my everything. You're my ride or die. You're my everything.
Marital strife in a secretly recorded phone call. David Santillan's wife, Annie, records her husband when he is drunk and despondent. In that video, Santillan seems concerned that he will no longer receive protection from former ATF agent John Ciccone because Ciccone is retiring.
John told me already I have 1 year. 1 year. He's retiring. He's retiring. After 1 year, he's done. And he can't protect me. He told me. So we have to have an exit strategy.
Annie then sent this text message to other Mongols saying her husband is a confidential informant. Quote, in other words, he's a rat. Outside court today, the Santillans put on a united front, both denying David was a confidential informant.
Absolutely not. Unequivocally no. I've never cooperated in any way, shape, or form.
Eyewitness News asked Santillan what he meant in that video about ATF agent Ciccone protecting him. Santillan says he and Ciccone had a rapport after 25 years of dealing with one another, and Ciccone told Santillan he was retiring.
He goes, I know you've been doing a bang-up job with the club. Can't protect you from this point forward. I know we've had a rapport, and I always looked out for you, and you were always respectful. So he gave me a heads up, and that was it. That was all it was about. There was nothing nefarious about it.
When this video was released, Little Dave defended himself, stated that he was just drunk and despondent and was never disloyal to the Mongols. But it fell on deaf ears, and he was ousted after a closed-door meeting with the national leadership. He states that he never even got a chance to refute the allegations against him. Like the Vagos, the Mongols MC has expanded rapidly into areas previously considered to be territory of the outlaws, pagans, and Hells Angels. In July 2021, there was an incident of the Mongols versus the Galloping Goose MC and their support club, the Midwest Drifters. And as a result of this fight, one Mongol was killed. As I stated in my last video, the Galloping Goose and Drifters had previously been involved in the shooting of Vagos members in the state of Missouri. In 2024, 18 members and associates of the Clarksville, Tennessee chapter of the Mongols have been federally prosecuted under the RICO Act for conspiracy, murder, kidnapping, large-scale drug trafficking, money laundering, and other crimes. The Mongols have been hit with several federal racketeering cases over the years. In 2015, in Los Angeles, the federal government tried and failed to use civil forfeiture laws to seize all rights to Mongols' emblems and patches in order to forbid members from wearing them. But a U.S. federal district judge dismissed the case. After this long legal battle with the Department of Justice and ATF over the Mongols patch, the club won rights to continue to wear them and to retain registered trademarks over their symbol. In January 2019, a California jury ruled that federal prosecutors could strip the club of its brand. but this was rebuffed by the Central District California Court of Appeals, which concluded that seizure of the trademark violated their First Amendment rights to freedom of expression and the Eighth Amendment protection from excessive punishment. While law enforcement occasionally has been successful in infiltrating outlaw bikers, the bikers have done the same. In April 2024, a veteran California sheriff's deputy was accused of living a double life with the Mongols, and 160 guns and a grenade launcher were found at his home. Deputy Christopher Bingham was arrested after he was caught riding with two members of an outlaw motorcycle gang, later identified as the Mongols. He was booked into jail and bail was set at $500,000, and he was later released. Bingham denies ever being a Mongol member or even an associate. Bingham previously owned a gun store in 29 Palms, where I was stationed for 2 years, and he operated the store as a side business while working for the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, according to public records. I've run into a few Mongols in California, both in prison and out on the streets, and they have recently had a presence in Washington State. But I was never a biker. I was more of a lowrider while growing up. Still, I learned a lot from biker experts like Chuck Scoville, who is president of the Outlaw Motorcycle Gang Investigators Association. Rest in peace. If you want to know more about the inner workings of the Mongols, I suggest you check out retired ATF agent William Billy Queen's best-selling books, Under and Alone and Armed and Dangerous. Queen joined the Mongols under the name of Billy St. John and was a made member for 28 months. He was also heavily featured in a 2008 episode of Outlaw Bikers, a series run by National Geographic Documentaries. And he was also interviewed by famed LA reporter Laura Diaz. Another source you might want to check out is Big Mooch and his YouTube channel, The Mooch. He is a former Mongols member and also gave a good interview on The Insider, How Crime Works documentary series. So, I hope you learned something new in this episode and continue watching as we continue coverage of outlaw motorcycle gangs. For now, this is Gabe Morales signing off for Gangsters, Cops, and Politicians.